ReZero Season 4 keeps getting crazier, and Episode 10 is no exception, as we play a murder mystery, but we also kinda already know the killer. We start the episode with New Bruce slamming his armor to the floor, cursing the Natsuki Subaru that seems to be some incomprehensible elder godlike monster. This wasn't the first time he had been suspicious of Natsuki Subaru. The actions he'd seemingly taken the night he'd lost his memories, the secret with the echidna that he had kept from Julius, and the number of things he had apparently done in order to earn people's trust would have been impossible for the Natsuki Subaru who'd just been on his way home from the convenience store. If someone told him that someone was passing themselves off as Natsuki Subaru and had taken over his body to do the deed, it would almost sound more believable. He knew, however, that wasn't possible. Looking at his arms, the letters scratched into his arm matched even his handwriting quirks. Thrown into another world with no one to rely on, no way of knowing who was friend and who was foe, now he could no longer even trust himself unconditionally. He hid Meili's body, remarking that he would no longer consider her a suspect, and crept out of the room. Immediately, Emilia appears, and Nubru lets yet another Emilia chant fly. His hairs stood on end. Emilia was one of the few people he couldn't find in this tower. She was still a suspect, but she seemed like she wasn't hiding anything. I think it's safe to say that Subaru has always kind of been a character representation of depression. I don't mean that just because, god damn, his life sucks. I mean that in the ways that he interacts with those around him in the world at large. It manifests in Subaru's inability to take the things that people say about him at face value. The kindness extended to him is rejected, and he feels like he has to earn that kindness by being someone other than himself, hence the mask that Subaru put on in the earlier arcs, this go-getting, constantly on the move and upbeat attitude that eventually caused him to crumble. And now, with Nubru being pelted with all of these so-called accomplishments by this other version of himself, he can't help but distrust the people around him. It's a self-defense mechanism, and I don't mean that literally because he's being murdered. It's a metaphor for protecting yourself from the you that exists in their head that you are afraid of. This is something reminiscent of what Emilia communicated to Subaru during their Arc 3 breakup, when she says the version of her in his head must be incredible. She must be able to do anything. And now Nubru has to confront that idea himself. Subaru knew of these accomplishments of Emilia's that didn't happen because of Return by Death, and now Emilia and company know of Subaru's accomplishments, but he doesn't because of his amnesia. He has to put up this suit of armor, he has to believe that he's being misled, that they have evil intentions, because Natsuki Subaru could never be that type of guy. I think the events of this tower are a really cool allegory for the depressive experience. Nubru wonders, if he poured everything out, if he told her that Natsuki Subaru isn't here, or better yet, that he's an evil murderer, would he enjoy watching her sheltered, pretty little face wrinkle up? Emilia randomly brings up Meili, causing him to stiffen. She wants to do right by her. She wants her to at least be free from the basement cell for her work in the sand dunes, and Nubru calls it stupid instinctively, an unconscious response knowing that she's dead in the room beside them. He covers it by saying that it's stupid to get ahead of themselves, and Emilia scolds him. If it hurts, talk to someone. Don't sulk. Beatrice or I will always listen to whatever you have to say. Stop trying to hold it all in, getting worked up by yourself and trying to solve things alone. She places his hand on her chest, and feeling her heartbeat, a feeling of warmth overtakes him. She isn't mad, nor will she be disappointed, and a deep, powerful shame wailed inside of his head. After everything she had done, after he had said something so horrible, she was still so kind. What was the point of suspecting her, of recklessly trying to hurt her? Nubru wonders, is there really someone trying to kill me? What if my dying was just an accident? What if it wasn't intentional? What if there wasn't anyone bad in the tower? What if the darkest, ugliest, most dangerous person there was Natsuki Subaru and Natsuki Subaru alone? The foolish visitor from a distant land who wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. What if she can help him find a way out? Before he could speak out, Ram cuts in. Something terrible has happened, and the two of them were ushered into the library. Pointing out a book on the shelf, Nubru's heart sank. Meili portrait. A bead of sweat trickled down his back as he tensed nervously. Why was it here? Why had it appeared so quickly? Why had her book been so easily found in an ocean of them? Why did it happen when he decided to try trusting Emilia? Why was fate so merciless to him? Emilia asks if Bayako had read it, but she hadn't. The books are far too dangerous to start opening them up. He could not let them read it, but he also didn't want to dispose of it. Peering inside would reveal the Natsuki Subaru that was there at the time of the murder. Shala arrives, acting so callous about her death that even Nubru tells her to cut it out. She adds that they can just read her book and find out what happened, and that stud and master have already read one, so it would be a waste not to. Nubru volunteers to read the book. Emilia wants to instead, but Bayako cuts her off. If someone has to do it, it must be Subaru or Julius, so Nubru cracked open the book and blacked out. By the time she was first conscious of herself, she had nothing. Without knowing words, one couldn't know how to grieve. Without knowing how to walk, one couldn't know how to fight. Without knowing how to live, one had no way of finding a reason to die. Because of that, she should have just died at some beast's fangs. If that murderous beast hadn't taken her back to its nest. Because she didn't know any words, she didn't know how to grieve. Because she didn't know how to walk, she didn't know how to fight. But because she learned how to live, she didn't think to die. She studied life in a feral manner and became the beast's queen. And as a beast, she thought her fate was to die in the field someday. Elsa appeared to bring her back, annihilating the pack of beasts and dragging her down from the throne. With a smile on her face, the girl robbed her of everything and carried her out of the forest. Because she didn't know any words, she didn't know how to grieve. Because she didn't know how to walk, she didn't know how to fight. And because she didn't know anywhere else to live but there, she couldn't even find a reason to die. You lost everything. That's just a pathetic excuse. What do I care? That made her regret not knowing how to grieve. Grieve for me, fight for me, and live in order to love me. That made her regret not knowing how to fight. If you're saying you lost everything and forgot everything and it's all gone, then I'll just have to discipline you. That's a mother's job after all. That made her regret forgetting how to live and not thinking of how to die. Capella has some interesting stuff going on with her, and some stuff that I think fits Arc 6 at large. A lot of my thoughts on this are a byproduct of renowned Twitter user Jarek, so shout out to him for nudging a lot of my opinions around, but Capella, by virtue of wielding this power of transfiguration, is seemingly one of a fluid identity, one that is yet to become concrete, and one that even Capella herself could be searching for. She's someone who yearns for love, to be loved, and will mold herself and those around her into what can receive that love. So it's really fire to have her brought back in Arc 6, an arc which is largely about struggling with identity and what you choose to make of it. Natsuki Subaru, Julia Saridna, and now of course Meili, the young girl who struggled to find her place in a world that she was kinda just a victim of as the waves carried her any which way. Really cool to see Capella in Season 4. Did you guys expect that? Did you guys expect her to be Mother? Let me know in the comments below. Elsa warns her about becoming Capella's puppet. Before she knew it, she was spending a lot of time with Elsa. Anger, anger, anger. And just like that, Elsa was dead. The person who was never able to die had died, and the people who killed Elsa captured her and put her into a cold jail. Alone in the dark room, the girl looked into the empty space and thought, I don't know how to grieve, I don't know how to fight, my life doesn't have any value. She was a defective product. She'd been defective before she was taken in by beasts in the forest, before her actual parents had abandoned her. Incomplete. Broken. Hate? What even is hatred? Sad. What even is sadness? The girl who had gone with the flow, just mimicking things in order to live, didn't know true emotion. With Elsa gone, who should I copy? What should I model my life on? If Mother had ordered her to die in the guise of discipline, she would have. She would... I don't want that. She didn't want to end like that. Unease burned away at her heart. The soul that had lived as others wished her to live, it made its own plea at last. What should she do since she was the reason Elsa died? Her heart skipped a beat in the library when the black-haired boy called out to her. If she was asked why she was in the library, she wouldn't be able to answer. He said he had a book that he wanted to find and he got impatient. He tells her not to stay up all night as she leaves and her mind races. He knows. She didn't want anyone to know. She thinks maybe she should use everything she had set up around the tower, wipe the slate clean, and she spun around to return to the library. There were multiple books scattered around the boy. He mutters, so shallow. She caught her breath. Her footsteps were silent. She's not stupid enough to just walk around and make it obvious that she means to kill. She switches to manipulation mode, but he catches her there too. Don't feign ignorance, little doll. Can't you hear what you really want in that heart of yours? Lend an ear to your wish. If you do, you'll glimpse a little bit of what you truly are. And if you see yourself, it'll be easier to understand what you truly want. If you know what you want, if you start to see your nature, then follow it. I feel your boring troubles, your tedious pain. I'll remember it. Was what she needed to do something that she could do? Was it something in her true nature? We cut to her asking how seriously she should take what they discussed last night. The boy ushered her into another room and apologized. Asking directly is against the rules, he declared, as he bent over and strangled her. She was being killed. That was the only thing she knew for sure. She was being killed. Meili really becomes a strong standout character here with her Book of the Dead, and strongly slots into the identity themes of Arc 6, and also, we can use this book to form parallels with our #1 identity struggler, Natsuki Subaru. A guy who always had to put on a mask to try and be someone he's not, and is now seemingly being possessed by somebody he's not, strangles this little girl to death. A girl who was never able to figure out who she was, only being able to imprint on those around her, becoming unsure of what her direction was after Elsa's death, besides rejecting death. She struggles with this inner conflict, and puts on the mask of those around her, but now, she will never be able to become anyone, not even herself. He fell backwards with a shriek as Emilia and Beatrice supported him. Bayako warns Emilia to not touch the books as his memories mix. A small note that English speakers won't be able to grasp is that when Nubru first comes out of the book, he's using the pronoun watashi, the way Meili refers to herself, and he slowly comes back into using ore, the way Subaru usually refers to himself. Just one of those things that's kind of lost in translation. There's also a ton of narration and inner monologue about this mind melding of Nubru and Meili, which I will put in the cut content section, so stick around if you want to hear more about that. Hugging Nubru as he shuddered, Emilia warmly soothed him. Sharla's green eyes quietly watched. They ask Nubru what he saw in that book, but he's completely unable to respond, as a vestige of Meili appears beside him. She has truly become a part of his mind. Julius offers to read the book to substantiate what happened in it, but Ram and Arinda are like, don't do that, dude. Julius is already in a bad state. They can't afford him ending up like Subaru. Emilia declares that they should search for Meili, and Echidna agrees. Julius asks Subaru if he was able to observe her final moments, but he tells him that he didn't see the very end. Something just happened at the tower, and that's all he knows. Betty asks Sharla what she plans to do, and she asks Subaru if she should look for Meili. And he's like, take care of her. She leaned in and muttered, I understand what to do. Spirit Meili remarks that it's almost as if she knows what happened between them. Still holding onto the book, Bayako opts to take it from him, which causes Nubru to ask why she's so kind. He thinks, the way I felt about Elsa is the way they feel about Natsuki Subaru. Why is that guy? Why is that brutal person? Why is that hideously sneering guy? Why is the enemy involved with Elsa's death? Why is the murderer who sneered while killing Meili? Why is the coward who tried to cover up my death? Why is he so loved? Why is it so one-sided? Jealousy burned his heart. An envy of that shining jewel he could never attain. The way to get his hands on that jewel. Should I tell you how? Subaru could have his answer. The thick black book welcomed his curiosity with horrifically open arms. There was a limit to how well people could understand each other through words alone. It was impossible to know with absolute certainty what lay in another person's heart. People hide things, even from the ones they love. People lie. People have secrets. The books of the dead provide the keys. No deception. No secrets. No lies. Were the people in this tower allies or enemies? Who killed him and who was an ally? Who should be allowed to live? Could they be loved or not? Hated or not? Bayako notices that Nubru does not look okay and takes him back to the green room to recover. Meili keeps popping into his mind, continually suggesting murder. If he just took her head and slammed it into the floor, it would probably be over, which is when Bayako notices his hand, scratched and torn. His heart begins to race. She was never supposed to have seen this. His thoughts scrambled, and he reached toward her to reap her of her life. However, he simply met with kindness. You scratched her hands again. That's a bad habit, she says. It's almost as if it was normal for him to have wounds on his arms. Her attitude makes it clear those wounds she was familiar with weren't from training or fighting. She was acting like it was normal for Subaru to mutilate himself. I feel like this, along with something that we'll talk about in the cut content section, really brings forward some interesting information about Natsuki Subaru that wasn't even shown to the viewer this whole time. He shows signs of it as early as Arc 2, at least in the novels, in which Subaru will cut himself. He has a repeated pattern of self-harm, but we don't see it all that often. You almost have to wonder if it was just an occasional thing, but when you really think about it, the times that Nubru slams his head into the door, the times he slams his arm into the floor, his self-sacrificial tendencies as Natsuki Subaru, he's always worn his self-harm on his sleeve, but now we know that he even tries to do it when nobody's looking. It's dark. The implication is clear. He regularly scratches at his wrists and Betty heals them. It goes completely hand in hand with the depression reading of Arc 6, and it shows to us just how out of control that Natsuki Subaru may feel. I mean that in the sense that he feels that he is losing control of the things around him, which makes it ironic that he has the ability of Return by Death, a complete agency-defying power. It serves as a release of pent-up emotion, an unhealthy coping mechanism, to make him feel in control again. To feel something that isn't just psychological pain. And I think this small interaction between Subaru and Beatrice really does so much for Subaru, the depression reading at large, and also Nubru's perception of the monstrous Natsuki Subaru. Because to Nubru, this is the first link. The first human aspect of Natsuki Subaru that he can relate to, besides the name that he holds. An attempt to cope with the pain that surrounds you, and a desire to regain control over what feels like the impossible. I think that this small section is an exceptionally powerful moment. This is included in the episode, but I wanted to read how the novels portray it because it's iconic in the fandom. As a bit of an aside, there's a famous saying, "Murder becomes a habit." This is a quote from the famous detective Hercule Poirot. Not because humans who kill people grow fond of killing and eventually repeat their crimes in order to fulfill those desires. No, it's because someone who resorts to murder once in order to resolve a problem will, when faced with a new problem, inevitably be tempted to consider the same method they used once before. From the moment they consider the possibility of murdering someone who need not be killed, they've already made a grave mistake. Even if they haven't killed of their own volition the first time, even if they despise the act of killing, even if they had seen the entire murder from the victim's perspective, the habit becomes harder and harder to shake. It becomes something that won't go away. Murder becomes a habit. The party was unable to find Meili. Everyone's expressions were dark, and they look exhausted. Emilia said that she even asked Reed, but he hadn't seen anyone, and implies that they can search more tomorrow, and Echidna interjects. They can't waste time on this anymore. She isn't saying it to be callous, but her current state is eating away at Anastasia's ode. The longer she's like this, the shorter Anna's life gets. Emilia understands. They must prioritize clearing the tower. She'll do what she can to search for Meili as well. Late at night, Nubru stealthily leaves the green room as Meili's mocking hallucination continues to whisper into his mind. He put his finger to his mouth, attempted to convince Patrash to let him leave in secret, and headed towards where they had left her body. If he didn't, Emilia would find it. Entering the room and checking her spot, her body was gone. Out sneaking around so late at night? Are you looking for something, Barusu? Or should I call you a fake, a worthless excuse of Natsuki Subaru? Ram reveals that she saw him leave through Patrash's eyes, repeating the gesture he made to her. Subaru tightens his fists, being given the final push. Murder becomes a habit. An incredibly deep and dark episode with great Subaru and Meili characterization, a showing of a twisted version of Subaru that just doesn't add up, and of course, this is the penultimate episode of the core. Did you guys enjoy this episode? What the hell do you think is possibly going on at the tower? Are you excited for the core finale next week? Let me know in the comments below. And just like last week, I read out the chapter titles for the past 2 episodes, and I want to do that again. Episode 10 covers Medal of Blood, Embrace of the Guilty, Meili Portrout, I Won't Forgive, Murder Becomes a Habit, and To You, the Worthless Excuse. I think this was a good episode. I think without some of the depths of Subaru's struggles and the mind melding of Meili, I think some of that wasn't exactly communicated, and because of that, it doesn't hit as hard as it did for me in the novels. I read the chapters like right before watching the episode, and damn, it really meant something to me, whereas the episode just made me go, yeah, that was good. I think anime owners are gonna fuck with it heavy though, so it is what it is. The Meili Book of the Dead section is awesome, the body horror portrayed from Capella is awesome, and I would say some portions of the book even go above and beyond what the novels had portrayed. The Meili ghost is also good. She's sinister. She leers around corners at him, really putting us in the shoes as her murderous and dark thoughts sit in the corner of his mind attempting to exert their influence. The fact that Subaru's self-harm wasn't cut is genuinely the biggest, fattest W of this episode. It seemed like it would be on the top of the list of things to get removed, but it's here, and I think it's so important. It made me so happy. And also, we finally get ReZero playing the ending over the episode for the first time in years, but it's only like 5 seconds. Come on, man! Such an insane cock tease. It's a good episode. I don't really think I have that much to say about it. I'd probably give it an 8. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. The first cut in this episode, which I do think is unfortunate, is that while freaking out about Natsuki Subaru killing Meili, we see Subaru also self-harming. He digs his fingernails into his arm. The dark flesh tore, and a drop of red blood welled up like a teardrop. The stabbing pain and the color of fresh blood were proof that he was himself. I think that this would have been good to keep in the episode because it really serves as the first connecting thread between Subaru and Subaru, like I mentioned in the episode section. Because, like, Subaru thinks that Subaru is this distant, otherworldly guy, so when he finds out later in the episode that he too, well, hurts himself, it's the first oh shit moment for Subaru that exposes an underlying human aspect to Subaru that he didn't expect, and one that they share. The next cut is during the Meili Book of the Dead. We hear about how Elsa knows how to kill more than she knows how to live, and how she's lazy about everything else. Elsa tells Meili that she has her here, so she'll just let her take care of it. She was imprudent, unreliable, troublesome to deal with, someone who couldn't be let out of sight. She was not loyal to Mother. She was free, not just in how she killed, but also how she lived. When she spent time with that woman, when she was helping that undisciplined girl, she came to a misunderstanding, to thinking that she might be free too. I don't think this is actually cut, but I'm not going to trust Crunchyroll to translate it since it's a multi-layered dialogue. If they do, then just never mind. But just in case, when Subaru is killing Meili, he also says, "This time, you're out on a rule infraction, but I'm looking forward to bigger things from you next time. Do your best, just like every time." Again, this could be included if Crunchyroll actually translate it, but just in case, I wanted to put it in the video. The anime, since it's an anime, also misses out on the black square sauce. Throughout the entire Meili Book of the Dead, she's never actually referred to by name, either just that girl, or by black squares in place of her name, in a similar vein to what happened last episode when Subaru was thinking about how he was being blocked from going through the doors. Additionally, when Subaru comes out of the book, at first even the mentions of his name were blacked out by squares, and as he slowly comes to, letters come back through the squares. It's super cool. Also during the mind melding, there's a good amount of cool narration cut that reads as follows. His thoughts spun wildly. Me, I, Natsuki Subaru, me, I, Natsuki Subaru, who, I, Meili Portrout, who, I, Meili Portrout. The border between reality and dream blurred. They melted together, blended together, merged into each other, loved each other, hated each other, pained each other, adored each other, desired each other, killed each other, shared each other's hopes, broke each other, menaced each other, understood each other, cried together, laughed together, misunderstood each other. When they called his name, he was in the grips of working out the splinter that was the other person inside of him. He had to establish the line between himself and others. He performed a dissection, picking out the right pronouns, memories, recollections, impressions, feelings. Super cool stuff. I love reading the mind melding and how well the narration gets the point across on how horrifically mind-fucked Subaru is in this episode. A small cut is that Aridna actually asks if Subaru can read the book again, and Bayako is like, dude, could you shut the fuck up? I thought that was funny. When the party goes to look for Meili, the multiple personalities within Subaru's mind clash. Subaru wanted to hide the fact that he was involved in Meili's death. Subaru wanted Meili's corpse, which he had hidden, to be found. Subaru wanted to accuse the other Natsuki Subaru of killing her. The novels really sell how far gone he is after reading that book. On the way back to the green room, Nubru actually gets excited to go back because Patrash will be there, leading to Bayako getting a little jealous, and Spirit Meili chimes in with her bullshit. Do you think Patrash would help you if she knew that you weren't actually Natsuki Subaru? He tries to ignore her. Also, Betty says a little bit more about Subaru's self-harm. She calls his spot to cut a bad spot, and asks what he was going to say if Emilia noticed, and she adds that if it gets especially bad, she won't be able to look the other way either. The healing magic swept his body, and he felt at peace. He rejected Meili's sweet temptation, before realizing that he was gripping Beatrice too tightly. He apologizes for causing her so much trouble, and she says that he promised not to say that. When everyone heads to sleep, the group all went to bed together to prevent another Meili, but Subaru asked to sleep alone to heal from the book. There was reluctance, but they eventually allowed it. Meili asked if he's saving the blue-haired girl for later, but she wasn't anywhere near the top of his list of priorities. There's some good stuff cut between Nubru and Ram at the very end. Shredded by her sharp gaze and voice, Subaru's heart cried out. There was a heat to her words that utterly betrayed the impression Subaru had gotten from his short time interacting with her. Grasping for any reason he could find, he struggled in a panic to get the gears in his head spinning again. They got me. Ram says, I see you aren't denying being a fake. I suppose that as evidence you do at least recognize how badly you bungled your act. You didn't investigate your target well enough. You were lazy. And the final blow was her saying, the first one to notice something was off was Emilia, the person he thought would be the easiest to trick. It made him cry. His trampled heart was bleeding, and the agony filled his mind. Being called a fake over and over made his heart ache. A pathetic fake. That thought poured a thick, dark emotion deep into his soul. The negativity transformed into something vile, filling his heart. His knees that had been quivering quietly steadied. Instead, the depths of his eyes grew hot, lighting the fuse on those dark emotions. The end of that fuse was what people called bloodlust. And that will be all for ReZero Season 4, Episode 10, and what an episode it was. How excited are we for the end of the core? Do you have any hopes, expectations, fears? I will see you all next week for the last time for a little while, but until then, see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.